Stop the Rain in an industry where talking about mental health is not something that is often done. Both Tablo and RM have stand out as people who are very open with mental health. I think this is one of the most honest and raw insights to their psyche that we have gotten, and we need to explore the necessity of actually being able to speak about mental health to be able to heal whatever trauma we are dealing. Hello, my name is Frenetica, and today we're talking about Stop the Rain by Tablo and RM. Going back to the track is slow, is a soft rock / hip-hop-y song, reminiscent to the songs of early 2000s rock hip-hop collaborations to like Evanescence and Linkin Park, similar to Numb, Bring Me Under, Perfect. We find Namjoon being a singer on the song, something that he doesn't do often, but he has been exploring this side of him in the past 2 solo albums that he has released. It is a soft and daring part of him that I wish we could see more often in the future and even inside of BTS's projects. To start with, we get Tablo's narration of religious trauma that he lived through when he was young. And this is a story that I'm sort of interested in, because I think it's a experience that a lot of people have gone through, yet is rarely talked about. The strictness that religious fundamentalism brings to a child's psyche can be very traumatic, even though religion is supposed to be healing, it's supposed to be salvation-based. But then these get twisted in ways that are beyond what should be doing for like life. Tablo says, I'm all in with a lost hand. Teachers call me rebel, parents call me lost, pastors call me devil, had me kneeling at the cross. Since I was young, I was called names and bossed around. Back to the wall so long, call me pain, posture child. Religious homes, times were different. They told me I was gifted. The reason this resonated with me is how the many labels adults in our lives put or impress into us, how much this changes. As a child, I was also a very rebel and emotionally vulnerable child, and I too got labeled as such. Teachers knew me as the crazy girl who wouldn't stop talking and who would cry out of nowhere. And even though I was very emotionally vulnerable, the labeling of it alienated me even more from my peers than if they hadn't been labeling me. As a person in the midst of developing borderline personality disorder, that was very destabilizing. So hearing Tablo's words being so open, so raw about it, I think it's good. I think more people need to talk about these exact issues, and they need to be more open about it. The idea is, if you don't talk about it, if you hide it behind closed doors and inside the lockets and ruminations of your mind, then it won't come out. But the truth is, the more we do not speak about these issues, the more the abuse and the mishandling of like emotionally vulnerable people and children will be reproduced. So this song is beautiful in that it's open about personal experiences that are not normally talked about, but that should be openly talked about. Then on the pre-chorus, RM starts singing. Sometimes in songs, when there's collaborations with pop artists and rap, there is always a female singing the pre-chorus. I think of Eminem and Dido. In this song, RM plays that role, singing, even though he also raps. And he says, the rain will fall and tomorrow may not come, but maybe the tears will fall to wash the pain away. I'm trying to stop the rain. This part is so beautiful because it plays on two metaphors. First, the metaphor of when something is sad and bad, that it's raining. Raining, emphasizing trouble and sadness and turmoil. But then rain is also used as a, how can I say this? Like a cleanser of pain. It signals to pain. The pain is here, it's raining over me, but it's also the thing that will wash away the pain. The tears and the rain will make the pain go away. Even though, as Namjoon says, I'm trying to stop the rain. Because when you're in the midst of the rain, when you're in the midst of despair, you do feel frantic to just make it stop. But then that is helping to wash away the pain. The chorus illuminates the message of the song quite well. Can't run away from the pain. I feel like I'm going insane. Bad thoughts filling up my brain. Demons swimming inside my veins. 2 seconds from falling into nothing. Can't run away from the pain. I'm trying to stop the rain. I'm gonna cry. I'm gonna cry because I've been going through it lately. It's been bad. I tend to just have bounds of sadness. So I start getting in my head, and in a bad way, and I start feeling there's just something deeply wrong in me. Like when they said demons swimming inside my veins, I sometimes feel there is just darkness or this deep hole inside me that won't let me flourish, and that just pulls me under, and it sinks me into this deeply painful place. This chorus illustrates the painful narrative that both TABLO RM are going through, and it goes back to talking about pain, about rain, how rain signifies pain, how rain signifies darkness. But it can also signify like a purifying effect. Almost in a religious sense, pain can be baptizing, like washing away the sins, right? Which is peculiar, talking about religious trauma from TABLO's perspective. Here we have verse 2 with Namjoon, and this is a verse that I'm very intrigued about because it's not often that we hear Namjoon talk about childhood experiences. What we have learned about him is what he has been feeling throughout the years, but I don't really think that we have heard about childhood. So he says, when I was a kid, I was convinced that I was destined for the 27th club. I too thought I was gonna be destined for the 27th club. But of course, you know, to be in the 27th club, you need to be a very successful person, a very successful artistic person who very tragically lost their life at the age of 27. I think this line illustrates just how much of an emotional vulnerability Namjoon had since he was a child. I think we could have inferred that because he always says he wanted to be a poet, and he has always thought deeper about things. I mean, this is the guy who felt bad for Pluto, for like a planet, which I also felt bad, but you know, he is very emotionally vulnerable. Something that's very admirable of him, even though that he has this vulnerable outlook to life, he's able to set that aside in order to be very rational as a leader. And I sometimes think this tension between him being emotionally sensitive and him needing to be a rational, logical leader, how much that put him in tension and how much that affected his psyche. And maybe that's why he had to explore what he explored in Right Place, Wrong. He goes back to his present day, 29, sinking in bathtub, sipping gin, looking for another club. Again, feeling very lost. And this is something I spoke on my review of his beautiful masterpiece of an album, about how he expressed that he needed to get lost in order to find himself again. That idea seems very like woo-woo, like kumbaya, because in the midst of getting lost, it's like, where am I going through? Like, how do I get out of this rain? All the loss was a loss, dust into dust. It's such a beautiful, like, master of words. Stray after stable. Stray after stable. Stray is to wander around, to leave the pad. And stable, I think of the stable of horses, but something of being stable. So maybe it is him expressing how he is straying after having been such a rock. Trapped after trap again. And every night I put my shadow on, but you know how much I hate my status quo. This is what I was talking about before, about the tension of Namjoon having to almost mask to present a logical, rational leader side of him, someone who needs to lead, who needs to be present, who cannot succumb to his inner turmoil, and then having to come back home and let that shadow come out. Personally, when I'm deep in like a BPD crisis, it's impossible for me to set aside that crisis mindset. I mean, I go full on paranoia, right? So imagine having the emotional vulnerability of feeling so lost and trapped and sad, and yet having the sheer willpower to leave that aside and then have that come up to the surface at night. That must be like super destabilizing. And then saying how much he hates his status quo is very interesting to me, because his status quo made him who he is and who BTS are, and they built a whole ass company and conglomerate. But maybe he was just following the steps that he thought he was needing to follow. But I mean, hating the status quo, your own status quo, is almost like feeling trapped by it, feeling like you need to do A, B, and C, and you're not able to do A, B, and C because you have this emotional rawness that it's in tension, in conflict with it. And I talk a lot about tension and conflict, but then I want to talk about how a dialectical approach to that tension can like heal you like a salve, right? Because you don't have to be going through like darkness and light. And this is something that I need to tell myself. But you can find like the gray and live in that like va-et-vient, like a seesaw of it. You don't need to hide yourself. Here Namjoon is saying that he's doing that, right? But you gotta know my life is out of love. Again, a reference to Right Place, Wrong Person, which makes me think this song was written around the time that he was working on RPWP. All lessons learned already coming out of trust. Keep my mind steady, but it's hard to readjust. Nothing stops times, but the clock will turn to rust. Pain and rain, they still stay the same. All lessons learned already coming out of trust. I do wonder what lessons is he talking about, and how do they relate to trust? Because it must be very hard to be him and trust people, since people are always trying to get something out of him. But maybe he's not talking about trust of people. Maybe trusting himself. Keep my mind steady, but it's hard to readjust. Again, this pure willpower that he must be using to like mask up and not let this vulnerable side bleed through his persona of a leader, of a pop star, of someone of a status quo that he is in part a businessman, right? So it must be really hard when the mask is like sort of like melting away, or like pieces of the mask flaking and showing itself in your life. Nothing stops time, but the clock will turn to rust. Nothing's turned. I don't know why I think about Hermione's turning clock. But yeah, even when you are in a sad place, in a vulnerable place, life just keeps going and going and going and going. But here, when I think of rust, I think a clock is made out of metal. And if your clock, your internal clock, is running when the rain is pouring, of course it's going to rust, which is like rusting is to show the passage of time, is to show the damage, the vulnerabilities of the metal itself, right? The metal corroding to the like natural elements, pain and rain, they still stay the same. This is something that I struggle with because, and I was talking about it with my therapist, which is, this is what life is. Life is struggle. Life is to get up and put that rock in your back and like Sisyphus go up the hill and then have that rock fall back down and having to put that rock back again and go up, back up again. And to me, that is a deeply distressing feeling. Like how? And I'm not religious, but I think of St. Augustine's saying we are here in a city of pain in order for us to get to a city of God, which is hard for me to accept, but life is painful. And how do we move on knowing that it is painful? I also think of Schopenhauer, a philosopher that I love to hate because I despise him, but he also talks about how we are not really in charge of our life. Whatever drives us is something he called will, the force of will. And will is this incessant force that just goes on like rolls and rolls and rolls, and we live and we die in order for us to feed that force. And to me, it makes sense because that's how I feel life is. It's incessant and we live and we die, and it's just in service to that. Very much like we're in service to a capitalist system. Just to close this little parenthesis, for Schopenhauer, the solve to that was art, and specifically music. He said that music allowed us to like come to terms and be mindfully aware and accepting this deeply distressing reality. So we go back to the chorus, can't run away from the pain, I feel like I'm going insane, bad thoughts filling up my brain, blah, blah. I'm trying to stop the rain. I love this song because it holds that tension between accepting that the pain is here and that you cannot actually run away from it, but being almost terco, how do you say, like stubborn about wanting it to stop. But this stubbornness is not because of just wanting it to stop, it's because it hurts too much. And it's painful. This song sonically reminds me of very late 1990s to very early 2000s, that period of time where there were artists starting to mix a rockier sound with hip hop. Final thoughts. I commend TABLO and RM for releasing this song. I think it was very mindful and respectful of TABLO, feeling like maybe I don't want to release this song because this is such a personal song to Namjoon. I feel so proud and I commend Namjoon for saying no, like release it, like así el chile, sácalo. Because it is a thing that needs to be spoken. And my belief is that as long as we keep hiding our demons, our mental health issues, our struggles, the more they're gonna perpetuate. There's this idea that if we talk about it, we're gonna reproduce it. But in fact, it's the other way around. The more we talk about it, the more we destigmatize it, the more it's gonna help. And personally, honestly, for me, it was very helpful. Like, I've been really struggling. I had to go back on so many meds because I've been going through it. And this song, instead of pulling me under even more, what it did, it like surfaced like a salve to heal myself. It's like there's someone else going through it. There's someone else struggling. And I'm not alone. And my experience is not the only experience. And feeling, there's something beautiful about feeling community in pain, because pain can be isolating. But here, pain puts me like in relation to others. There's other people around me feeling the same sadness. My name was Frenetica. I talk about BTS, music, fandom, art and politics, and philosophy of art, whatever the heck I feel like talking. So if you're into that, please like, please subscribe. It means the world to me. Until next time, remember to be excellent to one another.